Imagine you are sitting in a quiet room in Beijing. It is February 2nd, 2026, while Americans are arguing about the Super Bowl halftime show, and while Europe is distracted by its energy crisis. The most powerful man in China just signed a document that effectively ends the American century. He didn't use a missile. He didn't use a trade sanction. He used an essay. China's President Xi Jinping just laid out the official, public roadmap for the Chinese yuan to replace the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. For decades, this was a conspiracy theory. For years, it was a rumor. Today, it is official government policy. And if you think this is just political posturing, you need to look at the numbers. Because on the exact same week this essay was published, something impossible happened in the global markets. China didn't just talk about a new currency. They just posted a trade surplus of $1.2 trillion. That is not just money. That is a weapon. And the target is your savings account. Most people will ignore this video. They will say, "The dollar is king." They will say, "America is too big to fail." But by the time this video ends, I'm going to show you the mathematical proof that the transition has already happened. This isn't a prediction. It's a notification. Here's what they don't teach you in economics class. Empires don't die because they are defeated. They die because they get replaced. In 1944, the world gathered at a hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. The United States owned 80% of the world's gold. We had the strongest factories. We had the strongest military. So the world made a deal. The US dollar would be the king. Every other currency would be pegged to the dollar, and the dollar would be pegged to gold. It was a contract based on trust. But contracts expire. Fast forward to 2026. The United States has $36 trillion in debt. We have devalued our currency by printing trillions of dollars out of thin air. We have weaponized our banking system to sanction our enemies, and China has been watching. What happened this week? It was the Bretton Woods of the East. Xi Jinping explicitly stated that China must build a strong currency that is held by other central banks as a reserve. He listed the requirements: a strong central bank, open financial markets, and a currency that doesn't bow to the United States. Now, look at the data. While the US Federal Reserve is trapped, trying to decide if they should cut rates and cause inflation, or raise rates and crash the economy, China just made the digital yuan pay interest. Starting in January 2026, if you hold digital yuan, you get paid. It's no longer just cash, it's a savings account. Why does that matter? Because the US dollar doesn't pay you to hold it. It costs you to hold it, because inflation eats away 3% of its value every year. China is flipping the script. They are making their money an asset, while our money becomes a liability. And the world is noticing. The yuan's share of global trade payments didn't just grow, it exploded. From 1.9% in 2020 to 8.4% today. That sounds small, right? 8%? But in the world of global finance, an 8% shift is an avalanche. It took the US dollar 50 years to gain that much ground on the British pound. China did it in 6. This is the pattern. First, they build the factories. Then, they hoard the gold. Then, they launch the currency. We are at stage 3. Let's talk about the trillion-dollar elephant in the room. You cannot have a global reserve currency if you are broke. America is the world's largest debtor nation. We owe the world money. China is the world's largest creditor nation. The world owes them money. In 2025, China recorded a trade surplus of $1.2 trillion. Let me put that number in perspective for you. That is more than the entire GDP of Saudi Arabia. That is enough money to buy Every single Bitcoin in existence. Twice. Where is that money going? For the last 20 years, China took that surplus money and bought U.S. Treasury bonds. They lent it back to us. That's why our mortgage rates were low. That's why our government could spend money like a drunken sailor. So what are they buying with that $1.2 trillion surplus now? They are buying friends, and they are buying gold. Look at the Belt and Road Initiative. Look at the BRICS alliance. China is effectively telling countries, if you trade with us in yuan, we will give you better loans. We will build your ports. We will buy your oil. And now, the digital yuan. This is the piece of the puzzle that nobody in Washington understands. The United States banned a retail central bank digital currency. We said no. China said yes. And now, in 2026, that system is fully operational. It allows Russia, Iran, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia to trade instantly, without touching a single US dollar. It bypasses SWIFT. It bypasses American sanctions. It bypasses us. Think about what happens when Saudi Arabia decides to price all of its oil in yuan. The demand for dollars evaporates overnight. And when demand for dollars evaporates, all those trillions of dollars currently floating around overseas come flooding back home. That is the moment the hyperinflation starts. That is the moment your grocery bill doubles. Not in a year, in a month. History is screaming at us. Go back to 1956, the Suez Crisis. Britain thought they were untouchable. They had the pound. They had the history. But they had too much debt. And they had lost the trust of the world. When the crisis hit, it took 11 days for the British Empire to collapse financially. 11 days. The people of Britain didn't see it coming. They were told the economy was strong. But the smart money knew. The smart money moved into Swiss francs. The smart money bought gold. And when the pound crashed, the middle class of Britain was wiped out, but the prepared were protected. America is in 1956 right now. We have the debt. We have the military overextension. And now, we have the competitor explicitly stating their goal to replace us. Xi Jinping's essay is the equivalent of the warning shots fired before Suez. He is telling his people, get ready. He is telling his banks, prepare. He is telling the world, the dollar is over. And yet, look at the American news. Are they talking about this? Are they analyzing the 8.4% shift in global payments? Are they discussing the $1.2 trillion surplus? No. They are keeping you distracted. Because if you knew the truth, you would stop buying stocks, you would stop buying bonds, and you would start protecting yourself. I tell you this because inevitability doesn't care about your feelings. The transition from a unipolar world, ruled by the dollar, to a multipolar world, ruled by real assets, is already here. The signal has been fired. So, what do? You do what the empires do. You get out of paper, and you get into reality. The year 2026 is going to be the year the cracks become canyons. The digital yuan is live. The interest payments have started. The surplus is growing. The train has left the station. The only question is, are you on the tracks? If this video opened your eyes, share it. Because the algorithm won't push this. The media won't cover this. It is up to us. Like, subscribe, and prepare.